What's up?
What's going on? And now, introducing out of the red, white, and blue corner, your world heavyweight undisputed champions. I really messed that up. I was gonna get into it, but you cut me off beforehand.
It's my fault, dude. I'm sorry, but look, just say it. Just say the world, the undisputed. Just start.
Undisputed heavyweight champions of the world.
Who's the master?
What's going on, guys? Yo, we wanted to do the stream last night, but Baba was all like, "I need to actually sleep. I'm a human being."
I'll take the blame for that one for sure.
Yeah, you can't.
But you look, I'll take the blame for all of it. We've been here missing some of the streams lately, and it's literally been all my fault just because of work, other things, and I'm one of those guys biting off too much that I can chew right now. But
Baba, you just need to be degenerate like your boy, and then
Yo, hey, well, that is something I do to strive for. I mean, look at this, dude. Look at this. That's the neck hair going all down. No trimming. I don't grow it as thick as you, so this is like a week and a half.
This is a day trim, man. This is what you get for being Indian. We're hairy ass motherfuckers over here.
Yeah. Every time I see you, and now do you keep the stubble?
I do.
Like, you like us?
You know what? You know what's ironic is when you first met me, I was always clean shaven.
Yeah.
I didn't start doing stubble until I started going gray, and so for that reason only. I've never been the type of guy that's concerned about my age, because I actually don't even look it really. But
I think both of us look good for our age.
Yeah, I have considered dyeing it just because I never knew how it looked, before I got salt and pepper.
Well, it looks good though, man. That's something you can pull off well, and it really works well just because you're like zero gray up top, so that's like very cool.
Oh, I got it. You just can't see it in this lighting. I definitely got it.
Yeah. Well, the black dominates at least, whereas mine, not only am I losing it, but it's super gray on the sides like Reed Richard now. But I just keep it so short you can't ever see, and I'm getting a lot of gray.
Why don't you grow it out? Maybe we'll cast you as Reed. Just still looking for the
a bald Reed.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard. We're gonna get into the heart of the matter, but there was a little news blurb that dropped about what Marvel's looking at for their Sue Storm. They're looking for a Dakota Johnson type. Which, if you're Dakota Johnson, do you read that and you're like, "What the fuck? I'm right here."
Dakota Johnson is my number one. She's like,
really?
oh, I love her. I love her, and I love her acting. Now, I don't necessarily love all of her movies. Well, I do like 50 Shades movies just because of certain reasons, but because it's her. If it would have been any other girl, I wouldn't care. But there's something about her, dude, and it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Crockett is her dad. That has nothing to do with it, but it's just something about her, man. So yes, I'm all about it. She wants to be Sue Storm. She can do whatever she wants.
But
I do see it more of a Mila Kunis attitude better for Sue Storm than Dakota. Seems a little soft in her attitude,
Now, once again, I'm always about the person that's like, I don't just cast based off the looks. I don't need Sue to be blonde. I want a good performance. I want a good story, especially because what we've been getting from Marvel lately. I really want the emphasis on that. So cast whoever works.
Yeah, no shit.
But Bobo, that's not what we're here today. We're not here to talk about news. We're here to talk about the movie we watched yesterday. Technically, we got an early sneak peek, although your boys still aren't famous enough to get the true media passes. AMC was nice enough to release the movie early, and if you were in the know, like Baba was, I didn't even know about this. You actually could buy tickets, and so I guess
only for AMC, I think.
Yeah, this is technically our second test screening we've done together, but it's not even a true test screening.
Well, usually the test screenings I get are, I'm able to snap them.
Right.
I got them. But yeah, they don't get sent
on Go. Is it GoFobo? So
GoFobo.
Let's plug those dudes. Hey, listen, GoFobo. I never see anybody plugging your shit. Listen, we don't got a lot of viewers, but we got some.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hey, we will talk about you all day long.
Yeah, let's start doing some stuff. We'll grow, and then we'll make sure everybody signs up for you, and they get all those junk emails that you make money off of, and you get all that customer information that you make money off of. We'll gladly sell out all our viewers for some movie passes.
Man, I'm the sellout king. What you talking about?
We're the cheapest whores out there. Invest now.
I mean, look at these guys.
Yeah.
Doesn't this say just cheap?
Yeah. That artwork is actually pretty lit. I'm not gonna lie. That doesn't look cheap.
No, I know. I'm just joking. I just wanted a shameless plug.
I appreciate artwork when it's done by artists. I don't discriminate against any artwork.
Here we go.
This is gonna be what
I prefer.
This is gonna be a talking point in this movie because it's a big part of this movie.
Are loafers good shoes for some people? Yes. I just don't prefer a loafer.
What if it's a penny loafer?
Okay. If I'm super 80s out, Now, I like 80s attire, but I'm not gonna go straight just full on 80s loafer with the 80s attire. I don't know. So
So we just admitted that in the right circumstances, you could be a loafers guy. See,
no,
all you gotta do is
that's
just give certain loafers a chance and pick the loafers you like.
I don't think that I'm ever gonna be back in loafers.
You just said though, given the right
No, no,
circumstances.
no. I'm saying like there's cool 80s clothes, but I think if you tie it all together like an 80s
Hmm.
outfit with the
Hey,
loafers,
see,
it's over.
we're already quantifying everything. So
Well, speaking of quantifying, not only was he in Quantumania,
mhm.
dude, 2 hit movies at the while one of them is quickly downing in its success, but
Yeah.
2 hit movies within 2 weeks of each other.
Mhm.
And again, we got our Pedro Pascal for TV right now, and we got our
Mhm.
Jonathan Majors for movies right now. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's the year
that's
of the
rock,
majors.
dude. And dude, he killed it in this too.
He was great, man. This whole movie was good. Is it better than the first Creed? Can't say it. First Creed might. I mean, it's hard to say it's the best Rocky movie. It's hard to compare the two because they're done in different eras, right?
Sure.
I as of right now, I like Creed better, but obviously it's an updated version of Rocky, so it's going to be better. It's going to be slicker. It's going to be all those things, right? So I hate saying that because I think that's almost unfair to the first Rocky movie. But if you had to ask me, gun to my head, what's my favorite Rocky movie? It's Creed right now. You know?
See, I watch them through different lenses, and I know that that's weird, but that's just how I do a lot of things. Like so, like when I'm watching the first 2 Rocky movies, I'm kind of watching like an old school 70s movie that's trying to get some Oscar love.
Mhm.
That's the type of movie I'm putting in my mindset, so that's what I'm watching. By the time you get to Rocky 3 and 4, there's a little bit more of an adrenaline pace there. It's like breaching into the 80s at part 3, and when you get to part 4, it's just full on cyber electric 80s,
Yeah.
everything. I love it. Montage. Yes. Rocky 5's a huge product of the 90s, and it was a failure. And then he does the Balboa thing. So they've all kind of I can put myself in that mind space with them. For me, Creed was like dust the dust off of something that's really old school that you kind of forgot that you love this formula, but let's do it in modern day filmmaking, modern day music, and let's tell it from another side of a guy who's low on his luck. I don't know.
Completely different culture, completely different perspective, right?
Right, exactly. The music and all.
Mhm.
So, and still incorporating the Rocky music in there. So I loved it all. I can't say that. I mean, for me, Rocky 4, if somebody put a gun in my head, it's like, just give me Rocky 4. But
Yeah,
you got
right. Hey, listen,
80s.
just for pure fun, Rocky 4 is great, right? That
Right.
might be the most fun of all Rockies because it doesn't try to ever take itself seriously.
Yeah, it's like Cobra.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got I mean, he did the whole thing basically like a music video, right? And so that's basically the whole vibe of it.
No, he did for sure. I mean, it's half montage, literally. Like if you watch
Yeah.
that movie, like it's
All you need is a montage.
dude, montage.
Yeah. I think
So,
that's why South Park thought of that song, as a matter, or the creators of South Park thought of that song. Was based
oh,
on that
hands
movie.
down. Yeah, because that's the best 80s montage ever is Rocky 4. I mean,
Yeah,
there was montages in
100%.
part 3, but they just didn't hit the acid trip that Rocky 4 did with just like, oh my God.
Video idea: top 10 movie montages.
Okay, that's a
Let's
good
write that
idea.
down. Let's take some notes.
It's simple mathematics.
Yeah.
Everything he hits, he destroys. That's what he says about
There,
Dragon.
who was that? There was an actor they originally considered because Drago. The original idea was to get some big, hairy Russian type, right?
Yeah, I
And then
think
Dolph
so.
Lundgren came in for a screen they had no part of business being a part of, and they completely changed the idea. Like, let's do Man of Tomorrow, which
Yeah,
totally works.
and dude, but he's just beautiful in that movie. God, I love him. Which, by the way, I love how they're keeping the Drago story even in this one.
Yes.
But well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Creed 3. So, let me just say this first off. Go into this movie initially, not a bad taste in my mouth for the movie as far as it's going to suck. It was to me you're taking a lot away from it without having Stallone in there, considering that he's been in every single one of these movies from part 1 all the way to this. And I'm talking about Rocky 1 all the way to this. Yes, there's the lawsuit thing we talked about and we'll touch on, but just from the layman person that doesn't know anything, that just watches movies, Rocky has been sort of a part of this whole thing. So I was not thinking I was going to go into this movie with a lot of interest. The hype kept building. I got more and more love for Jonathan Majors over the last year. And then I got to say, this is a really good movie. Like
Yeah.
I was very, very impressed. I was very satisfied. I got emotional. And that's if I get emotional, that's a big
Creed has done the Creed movies in general have all done a great job. Hey man, that first movie where he says, I just wanna prove that I'm not a mistake. That touches a lot of people, right?
But a lot of it has to do with his delivery, you know,
Yeah.
and he killed
Your
it
boy,
once again.
your boy did not care that Sly Stallone was not in it. The name of this movie is Creed 3. It's not Rocky 9 or whatever. I felt like the character got a good send off that we all want to see. Rocky's been through some shit, man. And it was nice to see that character get the happy ending, reconnect with his family, reconnect with his grandson. I didn't want him to die like you did. I didn't want to kill my childhood favorites like this sadist over here on my right.
Yeah, I wanted it. I wanted Rocky to have a send off to where it was super emotional for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I listen once again. There are a lot of people that come from broken homes where family members don't talk, and I think that is emotional for a lot of people. Having him go back, having his son look at him, they bury the hatchet, they reconnect. Rocky needs to
No,
get
what
some.
they did worked.
Yeah.
What they did worked. I'm not dogging on what they did. There was nothing wrong with it. I'm from just a lover. Stallone being in like my top 5 people of the world, along with Arnold. That's just the school I came from. So that's all it is, And I just think that if Stallone were like when Mick died in part 3, if Stallone would have died like this, they're already paying homage to the old school franchise in every one of these Creed films. They do that. Even in this one, they pay super homage to a lot of specific scenes in Rocky 3 and 4, especially.
Mhm.
But I just think that as an audience member, yes, it was sad. And spoiler alert, this is a spoiler discussion, but it's sad when he loses a family member in this movie.
Mhm.
But I feel like for the audience, we would have felt something more losing Rocky the way we felt when we lost Mick.
Well, it's different because the movies were never about Mick. We do got a comment in here.
But he was a big part of it, though, and Rocky played the part.
Ez is here, okay? Because Ez, we're gonna touch on some things that may trigger Ez. He was a big part of it, but Rocky was the main focus, and that's why I think this movie works because you need to move on from the shadow of Rocky for Creed.
But Creed was the main focus in 1 and 2. He was. I felt like
but with Rocky being there, people are always you have to put aside time for Rocky's story. We had to do that in both the first and second movie. You had to have some time for Rocky's story because he's a big part of the franchise. You didn't need to do that for Mick. What's Mick's backstory? He owned a gym and now he still owns a gym,
No, that's fine. I guess what I'm saying is, but we were attached to Mick by the time we got to part 3.
Sure, but I don't think it's fair comparing Rocky to Mick because Rocky has been the main backbone of 6 films.
I think in Creed 1 and 2, Rocky plays the Mick role. So
he plays the Mick role, but he's still Rocky. I mean, you can't take away Rocky. If it was a different franchise and Stallone was playing Bobby and it was very obviously a riff on Rocky, that's different. But he's still playing Rocky. Rocky is going to command some stream time. And
look, and that's unfortunate that Stallone wanted more time for sure. I think as an artist, in a perfect world, that's what would have worked. You know what I mean?
Listen, do you want to get into why he's not in this movie? Some of the back and forth here.
Yeah, we can because I'd like
now that Ez is here, we're going to have to see.
Let's wait though, because let's talk about the movie first for the people that clicked on this, if they click on it at all, to watch a Creed discussion.
Okay.
So let's do that, and then because I do want to talk about that.
Sure, that's fair.
Okay.
Okay.
But hey. You go first. Go.
Okay.
No.
What were some of your favorite aspects of this film from a filmmaker's perspective? Because a big part of this film is Michael Jordan's directorial debut. So I think we need to talk about that.
He did a great job, dude. He did an excellent job.
Did you watch in IMAX?
I did. Yeah. And all the boxing scenes are in IMAX. He as a director, you're not responsible for like how badass the shots look, but you're responsible for approving those shots and maybe getting the cinematographer to that place of achieving that shot. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like Michael B. Jordan is not just sitting there holding the camera a lot of time. A lot of people confuse that when they's like, you can tell this movie's the look. Most of the time the movies look the same by directors because they're using the same cinematographer.
Yeah.
But with that being said, he makes the choices and he tells the cinematographer what he's looking for. So all that being said, the movie was beautiful. It looked fantastic, framed beautiful, like the way some of the focus ins, focus out. I love the super close up stuff during dialogue, all that. I mean, it looked fantastic. And he definitely brought something to the boxing scenes that we haven't seen yet in this entire franchise.
Yeah, that's the anime aspect of it, which we'll get to that in a second. As Maniac, Kevin Smith could play Paulie's brother. Paulie is a con artist, so yeah, that would work. That would work for me.
Oh God, yeah. Seeing Kevin Smith throw the liquor bottle at the Rocky pinball machine in Rocky 3, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, he'd probably be playing to type, just a skeezy scam
Just
artist
have him
type.
in the silent bot. That and see now you're making me have fun with this, and I don't mean to, Kevin. I'm sorry.
No, he hates you too, Kevin. We all hate you.
I don't. I
Retire.
love you, Kevin.
Nobody wants you anymore. Yeah, so the boxing scenes were phenomenal. IMAX. The performances were great too. Of course, the standout performance is Jonathan Majors, which it seems like if you get cast him in the movie, you're just gonna say Jonathan Majors was a standout performance. Like he's going on a run like no other that I can remember in recent history.
What I'm
in
liking.
films.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I was wrapping it up.
What I'm liking about him so far as an actor, and especially in this movie again, is that he's not just using because let's face it, does Mark Wahlberg do a good job when he's in The Fighter? Of course, he's very believable, but he is that one trick pony, and so you're seeing Mark Wahlberg play a character.
Hmm.
But with Jonathan Majors, I didn't see Kang.
Yeah,
I saw Damien, and then when I saw Kang, I didn't see the guy that was in Devotion, and I can't remember his name. You know what I'm saying? Like he really does a good job of doing little things to create a character. So like the way he walked, the way he like rushed at the fighters from the corner,
he'd pull up his shorts on the way to the
always, and he'd get hit and he'd pull up his shorts again. Like all of it was very good and believable. And from what I've heard, inmates that have been released from prison that have served time and that have watched this movie said that he really nailed that behavior.
There was a deleted scene from the prison. I don't know what was happening. I know I saw it in the trailers, and we don't see it in the actual film. But I just know in the trailer, Michael B. Jordan's in a prison and everybody's chanting Creed. I don't know what happened to that scene, but yeah, no, Jonathan Majors was great, and it really hammers home if you ever watch Jonathan Majors in an actual interview where he's himself. First of all, Jonathan Majors lived for a long period of time right next to us, Baba. I don't know if you know that. He lived in Cedar Hills and Duncanville. Yep. Shout outs to I believe they're 972, maybe they're 214. But yeah, so he spent his time in Texas, and he spent time in Texas living with drug dealers and criminals. So that's where he got a lot of the the characterization for Damien from the people he lived with. He said in recent interviews. So yeah,
so he definitely got it. Yeah,
yeah, he nailed it. Absolutely, he nails everything though, man. And listen, watching this movie, you really wished he would have played Tyson.
Oh, dude, there's no question. And I would never even question if he could pull off the acting part of Tyson at all. Like I know he could do it.
Yeah,
but he's got thing you question, dude.
Maybe the voice he couldn't pull off.
I think he could, dude. I think he would work on it. I think he could totally. He would just have to work on it for a little while. But man, yeah, I mean, he would need to get his chest a little bigger. But hey, let's not take away from the fact, and I'm not trying to switch subjects here, but let's not take away from the fact that B. Jordan was jacked.
Yeah, I was actually going to just transition to that. Michael B. Jordan, again, great job as Adonis Creed. He was built for this role,
Yes. He looks like Apollo's son, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
Like that, the mustache and all.
Yeah, he gave a great performance. Of course, Tess Thompson gave a great performance as Bianca.
She's a goddess.
She's great. She's also great in everything except for, I guess, the one movie that we don't love.
She was good in it.
Love and Thunder.
The movie wasn't good.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other standout was probably the kid, right? The child actor who plays their daughter. Is she deaf in real life?
I don't want to just say that I know for sure, but if not, then she was doing a damn good job with her mouth and mimicking a lot of things that what deaf people do when they talk, because they're the way, they don't have the hearing that we have that we rely on. So like from what deaf friends that I've had, they move or hearing impaired. I don't know if that's wrong to say deaf.
I thought they said it in the movie, but yeah, if it's incorrect, are bad people.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not trying to, because like I know people, I have family, so I should know that. But anyways, the people that I know that had struggled with that, they move their mouths in different ways when they're signing, right? So I think that if she wasn't, then she is damn good job.
She is hearing impaired.
And I think these days, if you're going to do that, it's
you got to.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson ruined it for everybody by pretending she was Japanese for a movie.
What movie was that?
Ghost of
the Shell. No, they didn't pretend that. They totally swapped that around, which that was a missed opportunity, right? I've never seen the what it's based on, but the movie itself didn't do that.
You hate anime so much you can't even say the word now. You're like what it was based on. Yeah.
Who shall not be renamed.
That category that shall not be named. Yeah. She was great, man. She listen. So I think this brings another part of this movie up for conversation is the messages. Okay, so we talk a lot about messaging these days, right? And
Mhm.
not always in the best of ways, because even though we all want to hear good messaging. Oh, well, I guess not all of us want to hear it, but nobody minds good messaging. Sometimes filmmakers now and writers just don't have the ability to layer the messaging in
Properly.
without hammering you over the head.
Right.
You know, Creed makes a lot of statements about society. It makes a lot of statements on the prison system, right? The criminal justice system. It has inclusivity with the kid who's deaf, which actually kind of worked in the story because it's been set up that Bianca suffers from
Yeah,
issues, right?
yeah,
Where
that was part of
yeah.
her story.
Um, it deals with black identity, right? The hood identity versus the black excellence identity, but it does all of it without ever telling you it's doing it, without ever beating you over the head
It
about
just represents it in the film.
yeah,
It
and does
doesn't
it in a way that's
write it
true
on
to
the
the
wall.
story. Yes, it's true to the story. It fits in with the story. You can just see those things because you're intelligent enough to see them, and you're intelligent enough to take in the message, but still enjoy the movie for what it is.
And so, like, at the end, and spoiler alert again, in case you didn't know this is a spoiler discussion, but at the end, when Adonis is walking towards the fight or to the locker room, and then he's looking at Damien
Mhm.
sitting down there defeated, and he's all just like mad on himself. Like, while I knew that part was going to be coming, I was very much wanting that part to be coming.
Yep, and
You know what I
they
mean?
cut that out of Creed 2. Did you know
The
that there was a scene with him and Drago at the end?
Well, because they're all buddies in this.
Yeah.
So that would have been cool in Creed 2 because the whole movie was about that. The whole movie was about them understanding that these guys fight for a different reason than we fight. We fight for a good reason,
Yeah.
but like Drago and his life, his background and all that.
Are they strong? If you're talking about Damien and Adonis being stronger than Rocky and Adrian,
He's talking about Tessa.
nah,
No,
I know what he's
honestly,
talking.
I think it's equal, man, because she definitely supports him. And you
Listen,
know what? You know what I do
hot
like
take
about her
opinion.
though?
Hot take opinion. Adrian got mad annoying during the later movies.
I was gonna say that. Listen, literally, that's what I was gonna say. Like she in the 80s, she wasn't annoying to me because I still loved her, but she was not supporting Rocky at all.
Yeah. Why are you
And
doing this, Rocky? I don't know, because we got a mansion now. We got a robot. Did you see
yeah,
that robot bring out the cake, bitch?
but she also said she didn't care about the money. You
Yeah,
know,
whatever. You don't care about the money. She got those nice Gucci handbags. She'd be sporting in Rocky 3. You don't care about the money. I don't want to hear that shit.
I will say Tessa backs him up though.
Yeah, for sure.
He's
Tessa's
like,
a strong
that's what you
character.
got to do then.
Oh, also mental health.
Yes.
Mental health is a big part of this. Once again,
Oh,
without hammering
big
it home.
time.
Actually, I would say that's probably the message that they kind of hammer home the most because she says, "Listen, you got to talk about your feelings," and that's one thing. That's another message they brought out there. Having people realize that sometimes it's okay to talk to somebody. I would say that's the most over the head message they give, but still, it works
Because
for the context of the movie.
you see him very vulnerable at a moment, and then he says it comes easy to you, and she's like, "No, it doesn't."
Yeah,
And then that's where it's like, that's pretty good because here's the deal: if they would have just been like, "Listen, it's okay to open up," if they would have turned it into a lesson,
yeah.
then nobody would have reacted to it. But there are going to be people that watch this that feel a moment in that moment that are dealing with something with that. You know what I
Because
mean?
they do it. They do it in a couples fight, which is often how it happens, right?
Mhm. You
Yeah.
you break down.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that emotionally, the acting, everything, man, was all really top notch, man. I honestly, I don't have anything bad to say about the movie. I just have a little bit of FOMO on someone. That's it. I just feel like I wanted my boy in there, but
I
it didn't make the movie bad, and it
no, and
did.
I think you need it. This is very much Adonis's story. It's about Adonis's background. You put Rocky in there. Once again, Sly has said now Sly has said several things, and we'll touch on this, but his most recent statement is he didn't want to be in there and just have a small cameo where he's not really doing much but carrying the bucket. So with that being said, the story needed to focus on Adonis because it's very much about him. You need to invest as much time with him and his family as you could. So having Rocky in there would have taken
I
away from
just feel like as much as he relied on Rocky's advice in 1 and 2, that in this situation with Damien, he would have called Rocky. That's what I'm saying.
I don't. I mean, how's Rocky going to relate to that, though? I think the whole thing is, Adonis is from the streets, and I think that's also kind of a thing. Listen, I know Michael B. Jordan, because he loves Sly, would have had Sly in the movie, but that's also a thing that the culture really hates, is the white savior trope. And I think for the audience he's going for, I think he pretty much made this movie for the culture. Like I said, there are a lot of messages that
And I get that.
are geared towards the culture. So I think if he would have had Rock in this movie, once again, I think he would have taken away from a little bit of that, because once again, having that guy, listen, it's not Rocky's fault that he's white, right? But having that guy be the white savior type, even though that's not what they're going for, that's what's going to be taken at by a lot of people. I think that would take away from the message.
Now, so just hear me out. Hear me out. And I know that Stallone wouldn't have done this because he said he didn't want to have a small part. But what if he would have been in there early on, however, and been like, look, this is your fight, man. This is whatever. And then he either can't be involved or something happens to where he does die. And then we see the whole story with Damon because
he's trying to kill Rocky, man.
No, listen. He has this whole story with Damien, and he realized, he's more vulnerable than normal because he just lost Rock with Damien, and he's doing all these things that we saw in the movie. And then Damien and all these other people start creating this myth of being like, well, what you can't do it. You were always in Rocky's shadow. So what if then that becomes a thing to where he's like, not only am I gonna beat your ass, but I'm going to show you I can do it without Rock.
We're gonna have Rocky 5 all over again. Oh, let's highlight.
Well, that's what this was Rocky 3 and 4.
Let's highlight some of Ez's questions here. Do you see this getting a sequel? Yeah, as long as he wants to do one, they're getting a sequel.
I hope it doesn't, because it's like, what's he going to come out of retirement a second time in the next one?
Well, here's the thing, and we'll touch on this a little bit, but now they've set up Rocky. Rocky's in a good place now because now it's no longer hinging on one person, and now the audience is used to you changing the focus, and they have set up characters to where you can almost do what Undisputed did, which is a very cheesy movie, series, but it's one where they always follow the loser of the last fight, and it becomes his story next. You could do something like that with Drago or with Jonathan Majors now, right?
But then it becomes a spinoff business move, and it seems like it and feels like it. So I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, but I think the people who want to make money off the movie will be interested in that. Yeah. You're talking as a fan, which I get, which is how we're reviewing it. But if I'm thinking as a producer, as a guy who's making money, spin that shit off and make me some money.
No,
he didn't want to be Margot Kidder and Superman.
The franchise, though, man. Look with Star Wars, it desecrates things. You can't just do it to do it. You need to do it because it needs to be done.
Well, if Michael B. Jordan's not going to be in another Creed movie, then make as much money as you can off it, because it's going to die soon anyway. So do those spinoffs, and because it's not long. It's not long in the tooth if Michael B. Jordan walks away, potentially, unless you hit.
I see Michael B. Jordan running with this and starting to do his own chosen projects and not just bank, because for me, it would be a nice little 3-cap trilogy that doesn't seem like you're beating a dead horse, that's sort of mimicking a franchise we've already seen in a lot of ways. Let's face it, it is. And a lot of the way it's shot, the tones, the scenes, a lot of that are mimicking things we've already seen. It's just with different characters. So to cap this off with 3, I think that'd be nice. And then they've said for a long time that they wanted to do all kinds of reboot type stuff because Amazon Prime owns this. They own MGM-UA. So while Winkler owns a lot of things to do it, if anything going forward, they've talked about like they want to do some shows, kind of like James Bond.
Yeah, do Apollo.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like we could do a whole prequel story on Apollo. That would be cool on that platform. But I'm talking about contributing to the legacy of the films that have built up. I just don't want to see this spinoff to me.
Once again, I'm saying if Michael B. Jordan decides he wants to move on, if you're a producer, as long as Michael B. Jordan wants to make these monies, especially if this movies, especially if this one makes the money that it's going to make, you're going to let him keep making them, and you're going to focus on that. But if he ever says, "Hey, listen, man, I'm done with Adonis," then you squeeze out some spinoffs and make as much money as you can, and then eventually it'll die out. But it was going to do that anyway, right? Until 20 years from now, when your kids own the rights and somebody wants to remake Rocky,
I'm predicting this now. I'm predicting this, and there's still 30% of me that says wrong. So 70% of me says that Michael Jordan's going to get a lot of praise. Michael B. Jordan is going to get a lot of praise for his directing on this movie. We all already know he's a great actor, so nobody's going to be surprised that he did a good job in this. But people are going to be surprised at not how well he directed, but like how professional he directed a really big budget AAA style film, and artistically he did it. So I'm banking on the fact that he's getting a lot of praise and offers for films that really interest him. Because Creed he signed on to initially, and it became his thing. I'm seeing him being like, okay, I got some play now. I'm playing up there with the Jordan Peels, and I can choose something. That's what I see him doing.
Well, the way I fight that, if I'm a producer, is like, hey, Michael B. Jordan, wanna get in on these rights?
And again, it all depends on where his
You want
head.
to make some money? You want to get on the producer side? That's how you do it, right? Because if I'm a producer and I own these rights that I bought for like, I don't know, $500 or whatever he bought them for Sly Stallone for, like a Happy Meal or whatever he got it for, because Sly was broke at the time.
Yeah.
Then I'm trying to milk as much as I can out of this investment.
Sure.
So if I have to give up a little piece to keep Michael B. Jordan happy, that's what I'm doing. Let's get to some of Ez's comments because I don't want to freeze him out here, and then we'll kind of continue this conversation.
Sure.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Should have gotten Rocky Morton involved. I'm assuming saying
Rocky Morton. That's the director of the Mario Brothers movie, the old one, the one from the 90s.
Nobody's gonna make a spinoff. What? You know what? I guarantee you they're thinking about doing the
daughter
Amara spinoff. Yes, exactly. You knew where
they
I was going.
They were definitely plugging that.
I adore Rocky, but I do not care about this film. I will wait for streaming purely because Rocky's not in it. As you're making a mistake if you don't watch this in IMAX. It's a good movie. Yeah, he could get me to go to the cinema, but Michael B. Jordan for me is not a reason to pay money. What are you talking about, Ez?
Yeah, you got to remember, their culture to go to the cinema is different over there than it is over here.
And not every show sells out. Yeah, it does. It does. This is called capitalism, Ez. I know we do it better than you Brits, but
whoa, look, he needs to stop with this hatred.
I'm about to throw some tea in the ocean, as if you keep
you're just trying to not get us any British viewers. Is that what you're trying to do?
No, my brother did piss off all of England. I don't know if you know about that with the joke. He even made some publications because of that. Ez and I will have to talk about that one day when he joins us on the stream, because we've been asking you to do that for a little while now, Ez. So just let us know.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Ez, look, it is a great movie, but I know Ez at this point really well, and if he ain't gonna watch it, he ain't gonna watch it. It's just he's got his mind made up and he likes what he likes, which I respect. But it is a good movie. You know, there's a lot of movies I've told Ez to watch. But you know,
listen,
I'm the same way with certain things. People will tell me to watch stuff and I just don't.
Listen to me carefully. Creed is better than Rocky.
No, you're an idiot.
It is. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just trying to rile up Ez, but.
So take all the Rocky elements out of Creed and see what type of movie you have.
Yeah, listen, man, you can be.
I don't mean the character. I'm talking about the way New Hope is. The way Force Awakens is New Hope. It's the same thing with Creed and Rocky.
Yeah, but Force Awakens wasn't as good as New Hope.
They just, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think that it's the same thing. For somebody who had never seen A New Hope and they saw Force Awakens.
No, here's the thing. I'm just messing with that. In fact, when my old co-host Aaron and I had a huge argument about Force Awakens, and the way I won the argument, we had just met each other, right? The way I won the argument is I just said, "Hey, man, did you like Creed?" And he said, "Yeah, I like Creed." And I go, "Okay, I got to get back to the phone." 2 nights later, he's watching Creed with his girlfriend, and she looks at him. She goes, "This movie is just Rocky." And then he remembers the argument we had, and he was like, "That son of a bitch."
Yeah. Well, you know what else is Rocky? Karate Kid. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's also the same director and same guy who did the score.
Maybe we should say that Karate Kid is Chuck Wepner, because we can go ahead and get into that now. Why we don't feel sorry for Sly now that Ez is here. Actually, before I would touch on that, let's touch on another hot topic. We'll end with that, or we'll wrap up with that. Okay, there's a big controversial topic on this show. There's one that, we're not going to lie, behind the scenes has almost broken up this podcast on multiple occasions. Maybe not really. Maybe I'm just exaggerating. But that's the subject of anime. Bobo hates anime. And, well, this movie that he's praising all the action on, he is heavily based on anime, including the last fight scene, which I think we can say is one of the better boxing scenes in the history of Rocky, right? It's not quite apples to apples because obviously we're doing this with modern technology, where Rocky didn't have that advantage. It's like, in fact, Rocky was on a little bit of a budget, right? But the way Michael B. Jordan filmed these action scenes was phenomenal, and it's all heavily based off anime influences. So, Bobo, how did you feel about these fight scenes?
No, I thought
did it make you mad? Did your anime shorts go crazy?
No. Here's the deal, man. There are a lot of great movies that are based off of animes. I don't prefer to watch the medium of animation anymore, like that type of animation. And I said, even with Batman and Superman characters I love, I just don't prefer that medium anymore. CG animation is different. I like that. My eyes are adjusted to that better. It's soothing. It's more pleasing. It's just jarring to me to watch that.
Yeah,
But that
yeah,
doesn't
no,
mean that I don't appreciate the content. That
no,
doesn't
no,
mean I
no.
don't appreciate the writing and stories.
I was just teasing with that. I didn't expect him to actually answer you guys into why he hates anime. Um, but no, let's talk about the
I
anime
do hate
influence. Because I showed you the clip that the last fight scene was based off of, and I
Yeah,
think you would see the similarities. So,
big
what
time.
do you think pulling from anime did for these boxing scenes, in your opinion, as being a longtime Rocky fan?
Oh, I think okay. To me, honestly, when I'm watching anime, I kind of feel like I'm watching like moving storyboards. So like I could see why a visual director could look at some anime shots and in their mind develop something that, oh, I'm going to take that and pull that into this and film it. You know what I mean? I could totally see that because like for me, the anime part of the reason that I don't watch and don't enjoy watching the animation because it kind of feels unfinished. You know, like it's choppy in certain motions, the anime, and I know that's what they're going for. But so
Not always. Actually, a lot of that has to do with budget. Anime is very
sure,
expensive, and now there's a lot of people with anime projects, not enough studios that have the budget to do those projects. And so there are a lot of animes now that come out that, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of choppiness to the animation, but that's just to save money. You can
well,
see it like you watch anime movies or big budget movies, you'll see a lot more fluid fight scenes than you would in like a TV show animation, right? Because
yeah,
the budget's better.
it's kind of like when you watch the Transformers
Yeah,
animated movie and then you watch the show, even the show that came out still after the movie
yeah,
had come out. It's like, whoa, total different animation here.
right.
Um, so look, do I still enjoy some animation? I do. And Death Note, I will be honest, I was enjoying that more. Like I actually that was the way that that was drawn and the way it was pacing, it had a darkness to it that worked a little better. What I really don't like is the stuff that is just like super like all right, splash page screen, explosions like drawn behind them, and they're like, yeah, and streamings coming out of it. You know, I don't like that stuff. Like the
Yeah,
Dragon
no,
Ball.
and once again, so that you're talking about Dragon Ball Z. The reason they did it that way is that the animes are all designed to sell the mangas, right? And the mangas are usually running concurrently with the anime. The problem is the animations are direct translation of the pages on manga. So when you get to the point where you're catching up too much to the actual manga it's based off of, you got to start finding ways to fill up time.
Mhm.
Sometimes they'll just release filler episodes, but the way Dragon Ball Z did it is they did these huge power up scenes that would take up the entire episode just to draw in an extra week so you get an extra issue of the manga out, right?
Yeah.
They would end up redoing or recutting that anime later and just cutting down on all of that. But yeah, a lot of times those things with animation sometimes that you complain about are done strictly for business purposes. Like, shit, we're catching up the manga. We gotta delay it, right? We gotta find something to do.
But it also has to do with too, like the way I like to draw characters. Like I don't find characters that are drawn that way looking all cool because they just look like kind of extreme over characterized characters. I like more of like the way they look in Death Note. To me,
There's
that's
one.
more real.
We're getting way off topic. There's
All
actually
right.
a Korean comic I want to send you. I just want you to read the first chapter because I think it would make a cool plot for a movie. I'll send it to you, and like I said, you can just read the first chapter. But we're getting way off topic. The way the thing I liked about the way they
Just to let the people and anybody that just joined in, we're talking about the fact that the ending scene of Creed was pretty much probably heavily inspired by an anime scene that Anshul just showed me.
yeah, it's a Naruto fight scene. Right now, I can pull up the name of the fight scene for you. Actually, I never watched Naruto. But I have seen that fight scene before. It's one of the more famous anime fight scenes. And if you watch it, you'll definitely, if you watch Creed and you watch that fight scene, you definitely see the influence. In fact, in the opening scene, when we flash back to Adonis being a kid, in his room, there's a big Naruto poster. And Michael B. Jordan's got on record saying he's a big Naruto fan. So, yeah, I mean, the thing I like about it is a lot of times when film draws from anime, they specifically just lean on the crux of slow motion. Zack Snyder's a huge, he's a slow motion. What your boy John Abrams is to lens flare. So they just do a slow motion. Here it's a little bit. He changes up the speed. Some of the punches go super fast. So I thought that was a little bit more of a grand influence of anime in this fight scene than there usually is.
Okay, sorry, I was listening to you and I agree with you, but something was going on with our branding here. Something's not working.
Huh? Weird. There we go.
I don't see it.
I see it. It's up. Do you not see it?
No.
Sorry about these technical issues, people.
Yeah, well, I was trying to put pictures up, but then this one Michael B. Jordan picture just wasn't coming up.
This came up. I see it. I think it's just on your end. It's coming up for me. I see he's looking at the camera right now, right?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so go ahead talking. Yeah.
Yeah, so he yeah, I mean you can see the heavy influence. In fact, let's see what Worley has to say about it. The artistic direction of the final fight scene specifically was superb. I felt a realistic approach that was missing was that they should have been more exhausted going to 12 rounds. I mean, they didn't show all 12 rounds. They looked pretty tired to me at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they did look pretty tired, but you know, if you go back and look at when Rocky was fighting Drago, I mean, that was pretty intense, that whole scene. By the time you got done with it, you felt like you were in the 12 rounds. But then I think that a lot of that had to do with editing and showing all the different rounds. They were literally showing up the cards and showing that. So sometimes it just is not conveyed the same way. But I do like the Showtime. That was a cool way of showing him coming up in the ranks. It's like, we got this underdog, that Showtime special.
And that's a real life thing they do, right? They do the Showtime special. So it worked out that way. Now, even this one looked more I mean, the Showtime specials are usually pretty polished, but that's how beautifully this was directed. I was watching it and I was like, this looks even more polished than the
normal.
Yeah, the normal Showtime, specials that they do. It looks a little too polished, but
yeah. And no, he was definitely focusing on the I'd say visually this one looked the coolest as far as like there were more noticeable camera shots in this one than 1 and 2.
The ring entrances,
dude, excellent.
Yes, especially watching IMAX. That's why you watch on IMAX for those ring entrances.
Oh, dude, and the Dodger Stadium, no less. I mean, what the H, dude?
Yeah.
And how about when Felix came out and he had the old boy with the Day of the Dead mask with the smoke things? That was awesome. Like, as simple as that seems like it was, that is an extremely hard shot to film, and they did a really good job on it.
There's another character that you could do some sort of spinoff with him and his mom. That interesting dynamic there,
Yeah, dude. By the way, yeah. Speaking of her, dude, like she was just like she was like brutal to him. She was just like, no, there's no losers in this family, basically.
I liked how they showed a little bit of more colors to Michael B. Jordan's character, Adonis. Like Adonis is very much being a promoter and trying to set up a fight, and maybe not necessarily doing his friend right, but he's doing what's best for business. Rocky is always typically such the white hat, and that's fine. It's product of its time. But I think in this day and age, you want a little bit more color to your main characters if you're going to do multiple movies, right? You don't want them to be just that pure white meat baby face all the time.
Showing that he had a darkness to him and it came from darkness. No, I agree with you, man. And the way it started out with their two characters, just giving you this like, oh wow, that you thought you knew Adonis, and now you're learning something about Adonis that you didn't know from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
and they started off with that Dre song, how it's incorporated into that was awesome.
Yeah, that seems awesome. And by the time you figure out the whole story, you get why Jonathan Majors' Damien character is angry and upset.
Sure. He didn't go about things the right way, but you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, and like institutionalism for people who are incarcerated, that's a real thing. They come out with a lot of PTSD and a lot of anger, and so it's very well portrayed.
And they forget that they still don't have to fight for themselves like they do in prison. So yeah, that's.
I did wonder what happened to his ankle monitor after he won the world championship. Did his PO just be like, "All right, you're done, man. You're the champ"? Yeah.
Well, I also thought that they like sort of were conveying that months are passing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe like it had been a little while. I mean, that's just at least what I got. And because it was like him in a blue jean jacket and some looks like the clothes that he still had on in the 80s. And then now all of a sudden he's in that penthouse with that girl and it's all decorated with him in the background. Yeah. I mean, I know that can happen, but I think that's what they were saying is time is passing.
I don't know if I love the Stephen A. Smith cameo.
The Stephen A. Smith
when he goes
the boxer or the fighter.
No, Stephen A. Smith is the commentator, the ESPN commentator.
Oh no, yeah, who was the fighter that showed up with him? The guy that's got the birthmark on his lip. He's like the richest fighter in the world.
Did I miss that cameo?
It shows when they're all like they're like at a premiere.
Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, Canelo.
Yeah, Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, but that's like such a small. It's just he.
For some reason, that's where I thought you were. That's where my brain was. But yes, no, the commentator, the one was like, "You called me to be on my show." So, yeah. No, that I like that because it just made it feel more like it was in tune with real life. Kind of like Wolf Blitzer being at the beginning of Mission Impossible 6.
I don't know if Stephen A. Smith does do a radio talk show, but the setup for that show is very different than what they were biting off of, which is his First Take talk show. And he doesn't take phone calls on that show.
Well, yeah.
So it threw me out of the moment a little bit. Now, maybe like in that situation, if that would really happen, a producer would flag him in and be like, "Hey,
got Damon.
I know we really don't take phone calls, but guess who we got on the phone?" You know.
Right.
So I guess I could see it happening, but it just threw me off for a second.
Yeah, but I like it anytime they connect stuff to sort of a real world vibe like that. It makes me feel good.
Some of the
no, it was definitely very much like Knockout Kings.
Yeah, there was a lot. There were a lot of influences in this. But a beautiful story.
The body shots, the slow-mo body shots, and the ripple, all that was really cool. And
the one where, once again, spoiler, where Adonis gets knocked down and it looks like he's not going to get up, you feel that, you know. I think that's the best job somebody's done on film of illustrating what the actual effects of a real life body shot are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's gasping for air. That's why a body shot is very effective in boxing, because you knock the wind out of your opponent. And a lot of times you can put him down for 10 just by completely knocking
just because they can't breathe. Yeah. It might not be that you actually knocked them out, but you got them out, you know.
Yeah.
One of the things before I want to do these before I forget about them, but before we start talking about Stallone and his mess. But I'm a big fan when they put awesome lines in movies. That's a big deal for me. But I also like that they had the whole like Drago and him sort of being the way that like Rocky and Apollo were, like they were enemies, but now they're cool now. I like that. But two of the lines that really got me in this one, and a lot of it had to do with it. I mean, again, there was a lot of moments they pulled from Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. Like, let's face it, I love Damien. He's awesome. But I think it's pretty clear that in the writer's room, they're like, all right, so we already revisited the whole Drago story and all that. We remade Rocky with Creed. How do we, this is part 3, how do we make a more badass style Clubber Lang character? That's what this was. He was still threatening like he was, because even Clubber Lang, Mr. T, was threatening Rocky personally in real life, but they just took it way to the next level with this character. You know what I mean? I like that. I think that's cool. But even when they're in the ring, when Rocky's fighting him and finally he's getting Clubber and he's just like, yeah, you ain't so bad. Yeah. They had a moment where he's like, yeah, you thought this was going to be easy, huh? Like, it was definitely like, that was the moment. And then running up the Hollywood Hill and screaming, that was just like Drago. But I love it because they do it well. And I think it works well. So to me, awesome. But and I'm going to let you take it. The line by Tessa Thompson that I loved is when she just said, or not by Tessa Thompson, the coach, when he's fighting, the coach is sitting, he's just like, you stop fighting and start boxing. And he's like, you walk away from whatever was and walk into what is. And dude, that's a badass line that I'm going to take with me.
Yeah. Good old Avon Barksdale.
Yeah.
Delivering that line. And for those of you that know The Wire, G's up to my Wire watchers out there. Yeah, listen, man, that was a fire line. And that reminded me so much of the scene between Stallone and Michael B. Jordan in the first Rocky, when he asked him, what are you trying to prove? And he's just trying to say, I want to prove that I'm not a mistake, stunning Rocky in the moment. And then Rocky has to just kind of calm down and be like, no, you're not. You go out there and fight, you know? Very reminiscent of that scene. I don't really see the Clubber parallels that much. I don't think that's wrong for you to see that. I think they did maybe want you to see that a little bit just by the way they kind of portray the look of the character. But there are different stories. I mean, Clubber Lang in Rocky 3 is an up-and-coming contender.
All I said, how do we take that they got inspired by the Clubber Lang character and created their own thing? That's all I'm saying.
But I mean, I think I would have loved to see Clubber like this. I think this is a much better story than Clubber wasn't designed to be a story. He's just designed to be an obstacle, right? There's not a lot of story to Clubber Lang in Rocky.
Yeah, I know, but they're like that part where he talks trash about his wife in front of him and he says, "Why don't you come over to my place tonight?" And then he pushes Mickey to make Mick have a heart attack. They're like, let's take more of that guy and build a character like that and make it personal to my.
But that's what I was going to say is that I think the point where they're talking and smack to each other, I don't know so much that's a callback to Clubber Lang. That's just two guys that had this thing between them that were so tight, and something unfortunate happened to them, and now they become bitter enemies. And it's just showing that it's getting personal between them, and they both got a chip on their shoulder. They both got something they're trying to prove. I think that feels like a very natural reaction. I don't think that's so much because he's not like taunting him, you know. He's almost trying to psych himself up. Michael B. Jordan. He's not
In the
like when
ring?
Stallone was in the ring, Stallone is taunting him, "You're not so bad," but what he's basically trying to do is the rope-a-dope, trying to get him to tire himself out, right?
Yeah, he's like, "You ain't so
Yeah.
bad. You ain't so-" No, I'm telling you, immediately when I saw that, I was like, that reminds me of Rocky 3. And so Andrew said the same thing. So like, look, we'll see if Maniac thinks the same thing, but I'm not dogging on that.
No, I don't necessarily just because I don't see it doesn't mean it's not true. I just didn't see that, right? But I just thought
It
I
gave me
think
chills. When
yeah,
I was like, oh yes.
I think they should have shown Dame getting a few amateur fights before he suddenly gets a shot. It was a little short. I
Yeah,
felt like
it was. They
Mhm.
and you know what we said is they could have just shown that in the Showtime special. They could have shown a like a 30-second montage of all these different like him being holding his hand up. Oh, another one where he's winning. Oh, another one where he's winning. You know, a couple of fall downs from the people he's fighting, and then
But
it gets the thing.
I think why they wanted to do that is I think they want you to relate to him a little bit. Because remember, he goes to jail, he stands up for his friend, pulls a gun, and then his friend is so ashamed he doesn't write him. Then he comes out of jail and he wants to start fighting. He wants his friend to help him out. Now, from his perspective, his friend is only helping him out after he takes matters into his own hands and has his homeboy break Drago's hand.
Drago's hand, yeah.
Right? So they want you to get in his headspace a little to where he's somewhat justified. Like, listen, man,
Yes,
I pulled a gun for this guy. He wasn't going to get me fights. All I wanted was a title shot. He wasn't going to get me that. I had to take matters into my own hands. He didn't give me nothing. Right?
well,
They want you to be able to say that from his perspective.
it made the idea in our heads seem like that he had been like gotten mad so much in jail that he'd formed this plan in jail because of his boy. Man, it shows him with his homie in jail.
Well, I mean, he didn't know that Adonis wasn't going to give him a shot like that. I think that's giving him a little too much credit for his chess moves. I think he still had a connection, and once he realized, hey, I'm not going to get the shot, he reaches out to his homeboy, invites him to tells him where the record party is, and has him break Drago's.
I don't know. I have to rewatch it because I think that he played him all along, man. That's what he's like. He played you all along. He's like, yeah, I needed you then, but I don't need you now. Like, I think he had it as maybe even a backup plan or something. I mean, this is all hearsay. It's just a movie, you know?
I think it just made it look like he had connections with that guy. And when he wasn't getting a shot, he reached out and he was like, all right, man, I need you now. Here's the plan. Right.
But that's another thing though. It's like, now let's, two things. I think one thing Andrew was talking about is like in real life, and I'm asking this, would someone be able to come out of nowhere if they had the right money and promoter behind them as a fighter? Would somebody that wasn't a contender at all be able to do what he did?
With that exact parallel, I don't know, but it's possible because there are tomato can fights all the time. There are fights where a champion needs a tune-up. He's calling up a tomato can. Hey, listen, we're going to get into this a little bit. Chuck Wepner, the guy who Rocky is based off of, that was his whole career, was a tomato can tune-up, and he ended up making himself a name in his fight against Muhammad Ali, and that eventually, was the basis behind Rocky. So yeah, those fights happen all the time. Guys get title shots that do not deserve title shots, and they just get them because the promoters of the champion fighter, his whole idea is, listen, I need to get a win on the books. I need to give my fighter an easy win. We're going to give this chump a shot. And the situation where, like we see in the movie, where a last-second injury happens, and they need to call up some journeyman fighter. Once again, hey, listen, we have this great fight planned. We can't. My fighter's been going through camp. I need to give him a fight, but I don't want to get him knocked out. So let's call up some chump. Let's have my fighter beat him, and then that way we don't ruin the momentum for the fight that we have planned. That happens, and then there are also times like we see in this movie where it happens and it goes the wrong way, right? So
yeah, I didn't know enough about boxing to know if that could happen or not. Now, another thing I was going to say though is that we have a redemption story, and we all kind of feel bad for Damien's character or Damien and everything like that, but at the end of the day, he does potentially ruin a successful boxer's career by breaking his hand. So, I mean, how much love do we got for this dude? Does he still deserve to, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, once again, I think that goes to the message that they kind of really briefly touched on about, incarceration, right? Being institutionalized. And he says in a line. So once again, I've been watching this YouTube special about this guy who's a comedian who went to jail, and he talks about a lot of these issues. And so it's fresh on my mind. So this line stuck out to me when Damien said it. Is he said, I got a couple of years tacked on. So a lot of times you go to jail. Okay. So imagine you go to jail for a weed charge. Okay. You got 24 months.
what are you trying to say?
Yeah. You got 24 months, right? And you're thinking, hey, I'm just going to go to jail and try to ride out the 24 months to keep my head down. Jail don't work like that. Yeah. Right. So you got key holders, people in jail who are shot callers, who run gangs. They also have it in with the prison guards. You walk in that prison, they automatically come up to you. They already know what you're in prison for. All right. And there are no free rides in jail. So now you got to probably gang up with somebody if you go to a bad state prison, and you got to start doing something, running drugs, beating people up, something. And so in order to survive, a lot of times you have to do certain things. And guess what happens? When you get busted, they don't say, oh, well, you're already in jail, so we'll just call even Steven, right? They're like, oh, no,
No,
you
they
messed
add
up.
shit on.
Here goes a couple more years, right? And so that's why a lot of those people, when they come out, they are twisted, right? They're very twisted. They have a very warped sense of morality because they feel like the system didn't take care of them. There are a lot of guys that go to jail for really reasons that they probably shouldn't get locked away for as long as they do. And the system doesn't take care of them. It kind of takes advantage of them and it adds on time. And they come out and they've got this take no prisoner attitude. And I think that's what Damien represents. You know?
So Drago was just cannon fodder.
Yeah, Drago was just something like, listen, I got a goal. I'm gonna do what I need to get to that goal. I already got my life taken away from me. Because when we meet
Drago was
Damien,
okay, but anyways, he was fine.
when we meet Damien, was he a bad kid? No, he was a great kid, right?
I don't know if a great kid is the right word because
I mean,
neither of them were great kids, but he was a kid.
I mean, he had a gun, but he wasn't trying to rob a place.
You're right. He stuck up for his homie, but he was also slightly a little bully to Adonis in certain ways. Like it looked like forever he would make sure that Adonis was in his shadow. You know,
I didn't get that. I mean, I got a big brother, little brother type relationship for him. They were really tight. I mean, the emotion he gets when Adonis gives him that ticket from Rumble in the Jungle, which, by the way, great job for the actor because you can see. I'm a big fan of when you can see emotion. You don't have to spell it out. He's really touched when Adonis gives him that ticket, right? And he says, "Hey, I'm going to make it. I'm going to take you with me," you know. And he says that from the heart, and he means that in that moment. The gun, once again, looking at from a perspective, you and I who grew up in the suburbs were like, "Why would you have a gun, dummy?" But for people that grow up in the streets, that's just a fact of life. You got to protect yourself, right? And so I think it gives you that different.
Yeah, and then we find out the whole Foster thing and why he beat up that dude. It was actually because that dude was a bad dude to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. You're right. I've only seen it once, so it's like some of these things are still like, you know.
Yeah. So imagine you go to jail for your buddy, and you're not mad that you do it in the moment, but then your buddy never writes you back. You write him tons of letters. You never hear back. You get out of jail. He says he's going to do you a favor, but then all of a sudden you ask him for that favor. You're like, I just want one thing. I just want, I had this dream. I would have made it. I just want a title fight. Then I'm money. I'm good. I'm golden. And the guy's like, listen, I can't do it. And even though Adonis is right, he can't do it. You're already kind of angry at him. You're already kind of holding it back. You're already trying to kind of keep that at bay and say, hey, listen, let's move on. Let's let bygones be bygones. But now the one thing you want, he's saying, well, I can't give it to you. You get mad, and you've already been institutionalized, and you've already got the anger in you. And so you go about taking matters in your own hands. I think it's a very realistic way of looking at it. You know?
Oh yeah, no, I do.
And I think by the end of the movie, you set him up to where, especially when he has that moment with Adonis, he's like, yeah, man, you're right. I mean, not you're right, but like, you don't have to feel bad. I thank you for apologizing after Adonis apologized, but we were just kids, man. And it should have never gone down like that, but that's not my fault, or that's not your fault. And Adonis looks at him and says, yeah, it's not your fault either. It gives him a way to move on past that. So if you want to include him later and not have him be the heavy, I think audiences will buy that.
So look at this. Andrew says that he agrees. He was wanting to Adonis to worship him and ultimately became jealous of Adonis's life, being mad at him for 18 years. Like the way I got it in the beginning is that he was like he, not that he didn't like Adonis. He liked him. He thought it was his boy. But he was going to make sure that he was always a little better than Adonis. That's the kind of vibe I got with their relationship.
I think I just got that he was better than Adonis.
Maybe. But
yeah, I mean, he was,
and he knew it, and he was acting like it. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't get that at all. I got big brother, little brother relationship. And I think that's what they're going for. Because I mean, like, especially with the way they ended it, that makes me really think that's what they were going for.
Well, yeah, as adults, they're learning now, and they also just went through something.
Yeah, and as far as his anger over 18 years, I think that's very justifiable. I think, Andrew, I think unintentionally you're making it seem like what happened to him was fair. I don't think they want you.
No. I don't think that's what he's saying. I'm talking about like who he is at his core, the way he looks at Adonis, not that he deserves. I know he said that we both tried to ran and he got caught. Remember?
No, I think Adonis ran. I think they said Adonis ran off, which is one thing I totally forgot about. You're right. Adonis runs off.
Right.
So once again, if you put yourself in Adonis's shoes, of course you're going to run. But then if you put yourself in the shoes of the friend who pulled the gun to help out his buddy runs off. Then he doesn't keep up with him in jail. Then, he gets out of jail and you ask him.
Yeah, Adonis was just as wrong about a lot of stuff. Like he wasn't there for his bro at all. Like his bro hadn't wronged him fully enough. Maybe they had a big brother, little brother relationship, but uh, Damien hadn't done anything wrong to Adonis yet. Adonis was the first one that did something wrong. But then why was all these other people so worried about him? Why was his mom so worried about him? Why was his mom wanting him to stay away from him even beforehand? Like, was it just because he went to jail?
She says that though. She says something about his anger, how you were
Gotcha.
always so angry, right? She knows what that guy. Remember, she says, "I know what that guy did to you in the foster home." She wanted him to move on and let go of the anger. That was always seems from the first movie. That's the battle he's fighting, right?
Oh, for
And it's
sure.
all back to that battle.
And there's a whole deal because he doesn't want to talk about it in this movie. That's a big deal where he's just like, I did all this to leave that. I don't want to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
So, no, I honestly, a lot of emotion in that movie, a lot going on. It is one that, I mean, I'm not going to go see it again in the theater, but I definitely am going to add it to the collection. I'll be watching it again on Blu-ray as soon as it comes out.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up. Let's talk, because there's a lot I could say about this movie, especially about the messaging.
Me too.
But
overall, let me just say overall, and I will do a review on it, but
well, hold on. Don't give that away just yet. Let's talk about the last part. Let's talk about the lawsuit stuff, and then we'll score it. How about that?
Okay.
Because
Well, I thought we were just going to be talking about Stallone now, and not the movie anymore.
You want to score it first? That we can do.
Yeah.
That. Okay, let's score first.
I don't have the graphic pulled up. Sorry, I thought.
Okay, and we'll let Andrew have this say before we score it, because it's a good way to jump into it. I think this is a perfect way to end the Creed storyline. And another movie can't be as good. Just saying, I don't think you're wrong, but I don't think you're right, just because they pulled it off 3 times in a row now. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. But in a lot of ways, I see what you're saying. But yeah, so let's wrap that up and let's go into the scoring. Baba, we'll let you start off.
This one was a 9 for me. And the only reason that it's not really a 10 is just because the absence of my character that I love, and it doesn't make the movie bad. It's just I wanted it something another way, but for what they did, they pulled it off beautifully. It's without a movie, without Rocky being in it, it's as good as it could have been, in my opinion.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I give it a real fresh.
I am also going to give it a real fresh. I am also going to give it a 9. It would have been a 9.5 if it had been a little bit longer. I felt like there was some scenes missing that you could have had in that movie. I'll be interested to see if they released a director's cut, because we know there was one scene in a prison that got cut for sure. We saw it in the commercials, right? So I felt like it went a little too fast. But then again, maybe that was on purpose. Maybe they realized, hey, this is the 3rd movie in a trilogy. Let's keep it a nice brisk pace. We don't want to antagonize people by making it run a little longer than we should have. So I'm going to say it's a 9 as well. I'm going to say it's real fresh as well. So bottom line, guys, go watch this movie. Another great installment to the Rocky/Creed franchise. And they do a couple more of these. We're just going to start calling it the Creed franchise.
Well, I mean, at this point it is. It's its own franchise.
It's a different movie, which is why I didn't miss Sly. Let's talk about Sly. Let's talk about why Sly wasn't here.
Well, you gave me some more information on it that I didn't realize was out there. So like for me, I was really under the impression that it was all because of him and this Erwin Winkler situation, to where he can't get the rights back from him. Now I also I'm not so sure about the whole Chuck thing, as how much has been pulled from that, but I also now didn't know that he's backtracked a little bit and said that actually I could have been in it, but I didn't want to be in it because it was such a small role.
He's backtracked a couple times, right? So the first thing he came out and said, as Bob alluded to, that he had an issue with the producer of the film. He was down on his luck when he created Rocky, sold the rights for, I don't know, a cup of coffee or something at Starbucks. I don't know what he sold it for.
Yeah, literally, it was. I think at the time it was something like $100 or $500 or something. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, and now it's of course been a successful investment for the guy who bought it, Ike. Is it Ike who bought it?
Erwin.
Okay.
Erwin Winkler.
So Erwin Winkler made a successful investment, and as much as I hate it, it's a good investment on his end. And now Sylvester Stallone wants rights back. He said, "Hey, it's my character. I created it. I should get the rights back." But I'm also I'm a former investment banker. So if I made a good investment in something and somebody says, "Hey, listen, you need to give me back the investment," I don't think I would. To be honest, I'd be like, "Listen, man, it sucks. I didn't put a gun to your head and force you to sell it to me." Right?
Now, would you renegotiate to where we could come to some sort of an agreement to where both people win?
I mean, really, it depends on what my bottom line is and how much money I'm making off of it. I've got the leverage now. I made this smart, shrewd investment. Also, I assume Irwin put down some bucks for later movies. It's not like he just owned the rights and he went hands off, right? Also, some interesting layers, as Bobby alluded to. That what's the Chuck thing? So Chuck Wepner was a boxer who was famous for fighting Muhammad Ali. Also did a wrestling match against Andre the Giant, if that rings any bells for Rocky aficionados out there. And the movie was heavily based off Chuck Wepner's life. And Sylvester Stallone has said this on multiple occasions in public on talk shows. Hey, it's based off Chuck Wepner's story. Problem is, he never properly compensated Chuck Wepner for using the rights to his story. They went to court. I told you he lost. Actually, Bobo, they settled. Rocky settled with him.
Okay.
Sylvester Stallone settled with him because I think he wasn't going to probably win, or it was going to cost a lot of money to fight it. So Chuck Wepner did eventually end up getting paid. But that's kind of interesting when you think about it from that context, because then it makes you wonder. It's like, yo, maybe Sylvester Stallone, are you the pot calling the kettle black here a little bit? You know, because Chuck Wepner could. That's exactly what he said to you. Right?
Now, I love Stallone, so I'm not trying to bash you. I don't know the full story, but if that is what's going on, it does seem a little pot calling the kettle black. But not at the same time. That's not the right way to say it. I'm not sure if there's just super bad blood and he won't renegotiate with him, Irwin won't. But as far as the Chuck thing is concerned, I don't know exactly how much. If it's pulled just from Chuck's, like, let's say Stallone's writing this movie and he's like, I like this premise of this guy. Like, there's something inspiring to me about this guy who beat Muhammad Ali and fought Andre the Giant.
He didn't beat him. He didn't beat him, right?
Or fought him and then fights Andre the Giant in the ring. I'm going to create something based around those events. To me, that's not really stealing much. Now, if the court sided with him, that's fine. People also get wrongly accused for murder.
Well, here's the thing: is he went on record. Just to clarify, he went on record and said, "I watched Chuck Wepner's fight against Muhammad Ali, and I wrote the story around Chuck Wepner's fight against Muhammad Ali."
Again, if I was a judge, I wouldn't take him to jail. I wouldn't tell him he needs to just give it up. I would maybe come to some sort of an agreement and saying, hey, yeah, he deserves some sort of compensation, but I wouldn't be like, oh, you stole this guy's life. Now, if he took stuff from all these personal things, his journey moving towards it, the fight, and all these specific things he did to get there, then we're actually breeding into now you're taking someone's bio. But just to have some events in their life that somebody did these two great things, and I'm gonna write a story around that, I don't personally look at that as wrong. If somebody did that about a couple things that I did great, and they wrote a fictional story about some couple things that I did great that were similar but not involving the same people, I wouldn't be so upset. Now, if it's something like going to the moon, which that's, there's been a lot of fights in boxers, but the moon thing is sort of specific. That's different. So I don't know. I don't know how much I hate Stallone from pulling from that guy's stuff, but he's also trying to renegotiate on a deal that he made.
Mm-hmm. And that's my point. Because listen, you're right. There are a lot of movies that are based off people. I don't know how much is based off Chuck Wepner's life. I know Stallone, though, put his own foot in his mouth by saying, hey, I mean, the main crux of the movie is Rocky's fight with Apollo, right? So the relationship between Adrian and Paulie, all that, make it a great movie, but that's not what sold the movie, right?
But I think that's what makes the movie watchable.
Now you can say, hey, listen, there are a lot of movies based off events, and that's the premise that sells the movie. I get that. But he kind of put his foot in his mouth by constantly thinking he was doing the right thing by selling it, by saying, hey, this is Chuck Wepner's story and making it known. You should toss him a little cash. This guy's a down on his luck fighter, and you could have made it all good, and you got the point. Because a lot like in this movie, right? All Adonis had to do was write his homeboy and do the right thing. That's all Stallone had to do at the beginning. And then you create bad feelings to where Chuck Wepner eventually got the point where after 4 movies, he was like, enough is enough. I'm going to sue this guy. You could have made it all right in the beginning by giving him some money, but you didn't do that. You were protecting your pocketbook. You thought you could drop in a couple interviews, invite him to a couple parties, and make up for the fact that you weren't getting cash. And that's not what happened, right?
Yeah. I mean, right is right. And you need to give somebody some money if they, if somebody creates a certain soundbite that I want to license, somehow or another, you have to license it to use, so there should have been something there, but also times were different. Now, if Chuck got his money at the end of the day, good. With Irwin and Stallone, Did Stallone make this deal back in the day? Yes. Is it legally binding? Yes. Is Irwin being not cool by sort of renegotiating? Yes, I
Well,
think
here's
so.
the thing, though, and we talked
'Cause
about this
Rocky's
because you were under the impression that he wasn't a producer, but he still is a producer.
right.
So he's still getting money from the property. If he's a producer, he's still getting some return on his
I'm
investment.
more or less talking about him trying to own the rights to Rocky. That's the bad blood between him and Irwin. Is he
Yeah,
wants to get the rights back.
but if it was you as Irwin, I know it's easy to put ourselves in the shoes of Sly because we love Sly. But if you put yourselves in the guy that bought the investment, it's like, all right, listen, man, you want to buy this from me, and this has now been revitalized as a money making franchise. You better blow my dick off with an offer, or I'm going to make money off this franchise until it goes away. And when it goes away, yeah, I'll sell it back to you, sure.
Well,
But
but I do think the main selling point of the Rocky franchise is Stallone.
not
So
anymore, though. And that's
but
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, right. You're talking about Irwin moving forward, but I think that Stallone's been trying to get this for a while. This isn't something he just started. So I'm just saying, if I'm Irwin, I renegotiate and realize that the most of the reason for this success, especially for the sequels, is because of Stallone. That was in the day where people went to see movies because of movie stars, not because of the movie. So I'm just saying you renegotiate an Irwin situation. You don't lose your money, you don't lose your rights, you just renegotiate.
It's tough to say because we don't know what the agreement is.
Right.
I will say that this is where capitalism gets a little tricky because there's morals and there's good nature and there's just good business. And at the end of the day, say what you want to say about Irwin, but for him, he's made a good business decision. He's still getting the majority of the cash off of franchises making money, a lot of money. So
Yeah.
it's a shrewd business decision. Is it the right business decision? Something we want to see? No. But if it's your money, a lot of times you look at things differently, right?
Yeah.
And so as my
No,
background as a former investment officer, I can't help but look at it from the perspective of the guy that's doing investing and saying, hey, listen, as much as I love Sly, if I'm in his shoes, especially with what's happened now with the character being revitalized, and now in a movie where you proved you don't need Rocky, I'm happy with the business decision I made because I'm still making a lot of cash flow off this property.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like the Taylor Swift and that producer thing. You know,
Yeah,
she had to re-record all of her music.
who's homeboys with my brother,
Yeah,
which
she
is
said.
a lot of our family are Taylor Swift fans, so we try to keep that sometimes a secret. But yeah, it's the same.
Well,
exact
again, it's sort of just like just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know, and I think that's what the whole thing is. It's like there's a better way and a cool way, and if you want to do it the uncool way, unfortunately, that is your legal right.
I mean, it's hard for me to feel bad for Sly because it's not like he's down on his luck, or Taylor Swift. Like
No, but
they're both multimillionaires.
this is not about the money though for him. I think this is an attachment and to that. I think that Rocky has been a part of more of his life than not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But it's also been something he's looked to make money off of. I think he's, it's been a money making vehicle since probably Rocky 2 at the very least.
Rocky 2 is
and he's gotten paid for those movies.
He has. And that's why I'm saying I don't think it's about the money for him. I think it really is about how much he wants to have that as like, it's mine. I really do think that because he's a gazillionaire, dude. He's not just making money in movies. He's making money other ways.
He's come out and saying, I want to be able to pass it down to my kids.
And that there's something there too, but doesn't he have Rambo?
He might. But yeah, I mean, in the interviews I read, he's like, I want to be able to pass it down to my kids and my grandkids. Fine, I guess. But what good is it good? What good is that going to do?
He still has something as a part of it because one, he is still a producer. And I think because he was a creator, there's something in their clause that allows him to still make money off of it. But maybe he's just, yeah, dude, that's a sticky situation.
Yeah,
it is. Because I mean, I honestly do get it where you're coming from. I'm not trying to say like Rocky should get I'm not saying that because business is business. But
yeah, and listen, I've been a fan, and I think typically I used to look at it straight from a fan perspective of like, oh, he created it. But now we're adults. We're in our 40s, and you got to be realistic sometimes. And I wish I could make a shrewd investment like that, for $500, I get the rights to Rocky. And damn straight, if I had bought the rights to Rocky for $500 and stuck all this money into it, Sly, you ain't getting shit, dog. I'm just saying,
Yeah. I don't know. Can't we all get along? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, listen, I think the fan in us, and if I'm speaking as a fan, I would love Sly to get the rights back. But if I'm looking at it from a realistic business perspective, I get where Irwin is coming from. I don't necessarily think he's a bad guy. He made a good business choice. He's sticking by his guns and making as much money as he can. He put down the money. Sly, you didn't have to sell me those rights for $500. I didn't put a gun to your head. You came to me. You need the money. You did what you got to do. It's like you sell something at a pawn shop and they sell it to somebody else. You can go to that person's house and knock on the door and be like, hey, listen, man, I was broke when I sold this. I need you to get back to me. And they can be like, no, get out of here. I like this Rolex I bought for $50. You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's part of, again, that's the difference of having people on your side that are compassionate and having people on your side that aren't. So with that being said, that good? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. It's been an hour 15. So there's a lot we can say about this movie. Maybe we will in the future. Bob is going to do a review. I'm going to try to jump on this review as well. And maybe we will also try to go back. Let us know if you want us to watch the other Rocky movies and kind of give you your thoughts after we watch Creed and go back and rewatch some of those old movies and see how
I'd love to, man, because, I own the Rocky franchise on Blu-ray, and the only ones I haven't watched on Blu-ray are Rocky 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah,
so that'd be interesting to go back and watch those.
Yeah, let us know if we can do that. When we get some time, we'll try to get it done. In the meantime, hit that like button to like our videos. Hit that bell notification after you hit the subscribe button to subscribe to our videos and to get notified. Hit us at some of the socials at the bottom page at Shogun of Cinema on Instagram and Twitter, patreon.com/BrassReel and facebook.com/BrassReel. And until next time, if life gives you lemons, Bobo,
make some hot, fresh popcorns.
We out.
Peace.